All right, we are live here on Facebook Live.
One of us is.
Somebody is. Marjorie's not all the way in the picture. My name is Tom Big Bad Fesolowich. We are here at Old Bethpage Village Restoration. As you can see, we got baseball going on in the background. Oh, we got a perfect spot. We got the picture right there. We are at the Old Time Baseball Festival, which has been renamed for Doc Adams. And we're going to talk about Doc Adams today. This is This Week in Vintage Baseball. It's been a while. It's our first Facebook Live post. Hopefully this will be saved on there so you can watch it if you're watching live, and you can ask questions if you wish. Any questions, baseball related, as far as history of the game. Without further ado, let me introduce our guest.
Good morning, Tom.
This is Marjorie Adams.
Great to be here, and thank you for renaming it after Doc. That's so nice.
She is the great-granddaughter of Doc Adams. And you're going to say who Doc Adams is, and I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about Doc Adams, because she's never at a loss for words,
oh,
right,
never,
Marjorie?
Never. Oh, dear.
Why don't you tell us who's Doc Adams and why were we even talking about him here?
The family likes to refer to him as a founding father of baseball. And he was born in Mount Vernon, New Hampshire in 1814, graduated from Yale in 1835, and Harvard Medical School in 1838. He then moved to New York City, set up his medical practice, and began to play baseball with the New York Baseball Club. And shortly after September 1845, he joined the newly formed New York Knickerbockers. And the following May, he was elected vice president of the club. And the following year, he was elected president of the club. And over the next 15 years with the club would serve, I forget now, 5 or 6 terms as president of the club.
Wow.
And he played with the Knickerbockers until 1862. And many historians have credited Doc with saving the game, which I find fascinating. One of them, Peter Morris, because I'm reading his book, Oh, How We Loved the Game, or Played the Game. Yeah, great book if you haven't read it.
Yep.
He talks about how because Doc made the effort to make the baseballs for the club,
right,
which he did up until 1862, they had the implements to play the game, which they wouldn't have had if he had not made the balls. He also supervised the manufacture of the bats, because none of these were available commercially. And so the fact that he had such a passion for the game, that he made sure that the club had the implements, he helped keep the game going from about 1845 to 1851, because there really was no other club that they would play against.
Right.
So they had them only themselves, which didn't lead to much competition, except they had a lot of fun at it. I think it was more for fun than competition. What else do you want to know,
Well,
Tom?
let me ask you, because some of our viewers may not know the importance of all this and how it fits in.
Okay.
The Knickerbockers, for instance, you mentioned he was one of the founding members of the Knickerbockers. For the people that don't know, do you want to tell us a little bit about the Knickerbockers?
Sure. They actually started playing as a club in about 1843, but they formally organized in 1845, September 23rd, 1845, and Doc joined about a month later. And what they did in September of 1845 was they set down bylaws and rules of baseball. There were 20 rules that they started with, but 7 of which had to do with the administration of the club. So the remaining ones were rules of play.
So the beginning of baseball, there was only 13 rules is what you're saying, basically?
And some people have made the very wise observation that the laws they wrote down were probably those to settle arguments, that there were a lot of other rules that they played with that everybody agreed to, so they didn't write them down.
Right.
And it was the rules to settle arguments that they wrote down, which is very interesting, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I like that. That was fascinating. And between September of 1845 and June of 1846, especially in late 1845, the Knickerbockers did play a lot of games. They played on Manhattan Island. They played at Madison Square Park, not Garden, Madison Square Park, which still exists, although it's greatly reduced in size.
Right.
They played in the Murray Hill section of Manhattan Island, which was just a little bit east, a couple of blocks east of Madison Square Park. They also played at the Red House Tavern, which was up in Harlem. And depending upon which historian you read, it's about 106th Street and 2nd Avenue.
Okay.
And there was a large cricket field up there where they would play.
Wow.
But by late 1845, they were getting squeezed out of these locations. So the city was growing. And they got kicked out of Murray Hill because there was going to be a train yard going right through their playing field. And they were getting kicked out of Madison Square Park because, well, the city was growing and the park was getting smaller. So they ended up renting a field at the Elysian Fields in Hoboken, New Jersey. They had played there before. I mean, it was an established recreational park.
Hi, Leslie. Welcome. Welcome
Hey,
aboard.
Leslie.
How you doing?
Where's she
Good.
from?
This is different than Periscope.
Okay.
We can't see where they're from.
That's
But maybe she'll chime in and tell us
That's
where
okay.
she's from. I see a vintage baseball picture on her.
Well, that's a good thing.
There you go. We're with Marjorie Adams, so the people that are just joining us, or you're just watching, who is a great-granddaughter of Doc Adams, who is one of the founding fathers. Now, we talked a little bit about the Knickerbockers and where they
Yep.
played and Doc's role in
Yep.
all this. I know that you are on a quest right now to get Doc into the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
And if you, according to the Hall of Fame, they have a different gentleman listed as the founding father. Yes, I told you I was going to throw you curves.
Thank you for the sandbag.
They have a different gentleman. And what makes Doc one of the founding fathers? We know baseball's a little bit of a conglomerate of different rules, but Doc and some of the Knickerbockers were very instrumental in making the game the way it is today. It's so, while we'll read different books where they say, oh, it's part of a German game and part of an English game called Rounders, it really is an American game because these guys came up with the rules. They put a bunch of different games together and came up with. So what is Doc's importance in the being a founding father?
There are two things that Doc did that totally revolutionized the game in terms of play. Aside from making the bats and the balls, which kept the club going in the early years.
Absolutely.
When it was
important.
very hard to get people to show up. They had to take a ferry over from Manhattan Island
Right.
to the Elysian Fields. There was a lot of effort involved, and they were only playing each other.
Right.
There was no competition. So it was Doc who would also lecture them at the club dinners about showing up, and he provided the implements of the game. But that's the tool end of it. In terms of the rules of play, his two main contributions was the position of shortstop, which he created in 1849.
It's huge.
Which is huge. And that was a pivotal change in the game. Because the balls that he made were so light,
Right.
you could bat them quite a distance.
Right.
You just couldn't throw them back very far.
Right.
So if you take a field like this and you hit one of those balls way out there by the trees,
Yeah.
that's a heck of a haul to throw it back in.
Right.
And with a very light ball, it's not going to go very far. So the outfielder position moved in closer between the infield and the outfield, and it became a relay position between
okay.
the outfield and the infield. And it was only later, as the equipment got better
Right.
and the ball got heavier, that the position moved into between the baselines where it is today.
Gotcha.
So
Very.
that was a pivotal change in the game. The other thing
Wasn't he like the first person
Yes.
to play the position
yes,
as well?
He was. He was the first one
There
to.
you go. So
And
first
according
man
to
to play
Yep.
shortstop right there.
And according to my grandfather, I have a little slip of paper that with my grandfather's handwriting on it that said it was also his favorite. He didn't play it that often,
Yeah.
according to the game records, but it was his favorite.
His favorite, yeah.
But he loved the game, and I think that was his contribution as much as anything else. He made the bats and balls for the game because he loved it. And he even said so. He did an interview that was first published in 1895 and then again in 1896 in the Sporting News.
Right.
And he said in there how discouraging it was in the early years getting people to show up.
Yeah.
And he said, my love for the game led me to persevere. And that says it right there. But to get back to your question, the other two things that he did that totally revolutionized the game, he made the balls, then he created the shortstop position, and then in 1857, and we can discuss it further, he was the one who did the calculation for 90 feet between the bases. Now, up until then, it had been 42 paces between the bases.
Right.
And 15 paces from the pitcher's mound to home plate. There was no other specification.
Right.
than that.
Right. I remember we played a game here, the beginning of the festival. This is our 20th year here at
Wow.
the festival, and we played the 1845 rules. which
Oh.
I believe specified 42 paces,
Yeah.
and we're pacing it out.
Yep.
And the difference between me, who's somebody who's 6'5",
Yep.
and somebody
Me?
else who's 5
Ooh, sure isn't.
42 paces could be
Yeah.
anything. So
Yep.
90 feet, making it codified to 90 feet,
Yep.
is a huge contribution. If you watch Ken
Yes.
Burns' 9 innings, which there's a lot of things in there that aren't important, but they bring up. The difference in the game if it was 88 feet compared to the difference in the game if it was 92 feet.
Or
it's a huge
89.
Yeah, it's a huge difference.
And there was a sportscaster in the 1950s by the name of Red Allen, who said the closest man has ever come to perfection is 90 feet between bases.
I would agree with that. And I think a lot of baseball fans would
Yeah.
also agree with that. Yeah, because it's perfect. It really is perfection. It's not just that it's a round number. It's it just works out different with the hits, the close plays, the double plays, anything like that. It's if it was 89 feet, you'd be having twice the amount of double plays.
Yep.
And fans may not be sticking around, and the game may not have spread. It wouldn't have spread as much. You don't know, but I
It
truly
made
believe
it a more
that.
scientific game.
Yeah.
And I think those who don't know the game, and I'm still learning it. Oh, good grief, I'm still learning it. But those who really don't know the game, who think it's boring, which is foolish, in my humble opinion.
Oh, I agree, obviously.
Don't understand the science behind it. There's an enormous amount of science in this game. And the more baseball I see, the more I come to respect it and enjoy it, of course, but then I've always enjoyed it. The other thing that he was a proponent of was 9 men, 9 innings. Now, 9 men, 9 innings pretty much by 1857 was pretty much the standard, but it wasn't written down.
Right.
This wrote it down.
Right.
If 8 men showed up, they played 8. If
Right.
10 showed up, yeah, sometimes they might play 10.
Right.
The other thing that was specified, and this is all in the rules of baseball, the laws of baseball, excuse me, that he wrote in 1857, was also the position for the pitcher. That had never been specified before. Where the foot would be, where the line was, and so forth. That had never been specified before. The territory for the pitcher. The only specification prior to that was 15 paces, from pitcher's mound to home base. He set it at 45 feet, from pitcher's mound to home base.
Wow.
It changed late in the 1880s, I think, to
Yeah.
50-something,
Yeah.
and then 60 feet 6 where it is now
Yeah.
later on.
Yeah. But for those of you just joining us, or you just caught the middle of us, I'm with Marjorie Adams, great-granddaughter of Doc Adams, who is one of the founding fathers of baseball, the game of baseball that you actually see played nowadays, things that still exist nowadays, 90 feet, okay, 9 players. These are things that Doc Adams is directly responsible for. Now, you mentioned something called the laws of baseball.
Yes.
Can you tell our viewers a little
Sure.
more about that?
Let me give the lead up to it. By 1851, there were 2 other clubs in New York City that the Knickerbockers could play against.
Okay.
The Gothams and the Excelsiors. Excuse me, the Gothams and the Eagles.
The Eagles, Newark. Was
Yes.
it Newark
No,
Eagles or
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn? Brooklyn Eagles.
And so they finally had someone to compete against. But those other clubs were also playing sometimes by their own set of rules. So there would be on-field disputes. And in 1853, a meeting was called of the 3 clubs, once again to sit down and standardize the rules.
Wow.
Okay. By 1856, there were something like 15 teams now between Manhattan and Brooklyn. Most of them were in Brooklyn, but between Manhattan and Brooklyn. And at the December 7th meeting of the Knickerbocker Baseball Club in 1856, the suggestion was made to call all these teams together for a convention to write everything down and get everybody to agree to all the rules. And that really was a big deal. There were about 14 other clubs at the time that were brand new clubs. They were allowed to attend, but they couldn't have a voice
Right.
or a vote in the discussion. So it was left to these 15 clubs, and it was left to Doc to write the rules of baseball, which he did. And I brought a copy of it today. What happened was he wrote the laws, and then it was handed on to his teammate, who was part of the committee, William Grinnell, who copied them over, and then after much discussion, they were finalized in March of 1857. Doc was head of the Rules Committee of this organization until he retired in 1862, and he was president of the convention in 1857. And what was finally decided on, and this is kind of interesting, Doc's original had 9 men, 9 innings. But there was a large faction, especially in the Knickerbockers, for 7 men, 7 innings. And one of Doc's teammates, a man by the name of Lewis Wadsworth, was it Wadsworth or Wheaton? I always get the two mixed up. Oh, Lord.
You got me.
It was Wadsworth. Right? He was the one who was the judge in New Jersey. Right? Wadsworth. I think it was, oh God, I get Wheaton and Wadsworth mixed up. No, it's Wadsworth. Because Wheaton left the club in the 1840s and went back to playing cricket.
Okay.
So it's Wadsworth. Sorry. For some reason, I always get those two gentlemen mixed up. Sorry, guys. And if Richard Hertzberger's watching, you'll correct me, right? Thank you, Richard.
I'm sure he will later if he's not watching live.
That email's coming. I just know it. No, I'd be great. So there were 3 of them representing the club at this convention. And it originally, Wadsworth was a proponent of 7 men, 7 innings. And we don't know why. But at the final meeting and the final argument, it got switched back to 9 men, 9 innings. He argued for it. So Doc had originally written it as 9 men, 9 innings. It got argued at the convention to 7. And then the final argument in the final draft, it went back to 9 men, 9 innings.
I can't even imagine where they put 7, just 7 people.
Exactly. Now, how do we know this? Well, we knew it historically, but but the evidence was solidified in February of last year when a certain document came up for auction.
Just last year you're talking?
Just last year. When a certain document came up for auction. And I was privileged enough to see these documents firsthand.
Wow.
At an undisclosed location. All very cloak and dagger. I wore my invisibility cloak that day, my Harry Potter invisibility cloak. And I was privileged enough to see the 3 documents. The first one was Doc's handwritten laws of baseball.
Wow.
That's what started it. The next document was Grinnell's hand copy of what Doc had written. And the final one was the final version where it says 7 men and then it's crossed out for 9. These documents surfaced as part of an auction at Sotheby's in 1998. And they were part of a group of papers that were being auctioned by the daughter of William Grinnell, Doc's teammate. And apparently she needed the money, poor lady. She was elderly and she needed the money. And they sold for about $12,000 along with some other documents in 1998 at Sotheby's.
Wow.
And the gentleman who bought them, who is still anonymous, and I will respect that, saw these papers having to do with baseball. He loves the game, but he shoved them in a drawer. Oh, darn. In 2015, he decided to get them out of the drawer and do something with them.
Wow.
And had them verified as Doc's handwriting. I could have told him just by looking at it.
Check your drawers at home. There's a motto for the story right there.
I'm afraid to go into my attic. I know somewhere in my attic there's an original Declaration of Independence. I just haven't found it yet. From my mouth to God's ears. I got an email from a gentleman who's well known in baseball circles saying, "You're going to get an email from somebody you don't know. Open it. You won't be sorry." This was January of last year, and long story short, off I went. And out on the conference table, I saw 3 pages of that handwriting that I know so well, and I went, oh my God, that's Doc's handwriting.
Wow.
So I got to see the originals. No, the family didn't own it. They were being put up for auction, so this was my one chance to see them close up before they went up for auction. April of last year, they sold for $3.26 million.
Definitely
Which was, yeah, check it. The only thing I got in mine are dust bunnies and lint.
Well, I mean, that's an amazing story because, you know, so many of us, and I'm saying people out there that are into history in the 19th century baseball or any kind of history would say, you know, oh, well, I would love to find something like that, but you don't find that stuff nowadays. Sure enough, apparently you do. It's a great story, and these laws were basically what were they? You mentioned some of the things that were on them.
Yes, and one of the other things which always pleases me when I tell people, no wagering if you're in any way involved with the game. So there.
Yeah.
It's a very old law.
And we won't mention any players' names.
We will not mention any names.
But it's always been around.
And it's always been around.
Yes. Because
what a lot of modern baseball fans don't realize, the beginnings of this game it was a gentleman's game. This was for recreation. This was not cutthroat competition.
Right.
There was a friendly competition, but you knew that after the game you're all going to go out for dinner and hoist a few. So this was a gentleman's form of exercise.
Now, I'm going to say this
recreation.
out there to some people so it's not totally misunderstood, because colleagues, fans, people I've played with before, when she's saying it wasn't a gentleman's game in the beginning, she's talking...
It was.
I mean, it was a gentleman's game in the beginning.
Yeah.
You're talking like the 1850s.
1840s.
1840s and
Even before
1850s. But we're not talking the 1860s and 70s.
Yeah.
It's different game change. And I don't want anybody that's watching this for the first time and forming a team and trying to relay this game as a gentleman's game. The game you see behind us is 1865. It wasn't. By then it was cutthroat competition.
Yeah. And there was a reason for that, because it was becoming more popular.
Right.
And it was also by the late 1850s, early 1860s, the profit was beginning to sneak in very slowly. And there's a possibility that some of the better players were sort of getting money under the table.
Yeah.
And that's what changed it.
Absolutely.
And people were starting to bet on the games. So the minute you have those elements, it changes the game, and it changes the characteristic of the game. Sadly, not necessarily for the better, in my opinion.
Three of the team that I run, the New York Mutuals, 3 of their players were thrown off in 1867 for throwing games to make money, and they were.
Yep.
It wasn't, unfortunately, at the time there really wasn't a commissioner's office so much as, so they kind of got back into the game.
Yep.
But they did gamble, and there was like you said, there was gambling back then, and it's a conflict of interest. It's something you can't have in the game.
No.
And it's important to to bring that up.
But just going back to what you were saying, yes, these men are now competitive, but they're still well behaved.
Right.
They aren't trying to kill each other.
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
So, and they're still out to have a good time.
Right.
And so there is still that gentlemanly aspect to it, which is what I really enjoy about vintage baseball. I love modern baseball. I love the bells and whistles, the yelling, the screaming, the excitement.
Yeah.
But this is so beautiful to watch.
This is something different, and we haven't talked about it a lot because we've got a special guest, Marjorie, but we're in a setting right now at the Old Bethpage Village Restoration on Long Island. 3 games are going on at once on 3 different fields, and played by different years. And this happens the first weekend of every August. And the game you see behind us, or kind of see behind us, is an 1865 game. The rules change basically year to year. 1865 is the first year of the fly game. Catching the ball on the fly was an out.
Can I interrupt?
Sure can.
Doc was an early proponent for the fly game.
Yes.
Up until then, it was a combination of a ball caught on the first bounce was an out or a fly. Doc wanted to eliminate that first bound rule, and he never got it passed. It didn't pass until after he retired in 1862.
Huh.
But he was an early and vocal proponent for the fly
interesting.
game.
Very
Sorry, I
interesting.
didn't mean to.
No, I think that's a great fact.
But it's my dime, so I'm
That's
gonna interrupt.
right. That's what I said. That's what I told you. I told you this is your thing. This is absolutely it. But just get that in. If you want to see games like this, it's simple. You can go on Google. You can go on nymutuals.com. You can go on vbba.org.
Yep.
You can go to those and see if there's a game near you, whether you're watching in Ohio, Minnesota, there's
Colorado, Texas, Florida.
They're all
Tennessee,
over the place.
Indiana, Minnesota. In Minnesota, it's huge.
Yeah, it
in
is.
Ohio, it's huge. Pennsylvania.
Wave out to you, Corky, in Minnesota.
Yeah. Yes, hi, Corky. Is he there?
He may be.
Darren, are you up yet?
He may be playing today. Saturday's a big playing game out there. But
no, he's probably baking something.
Oh, I saw that.
He's a blue ribbon baker, our Corky. And he makes baseballs.
Yes.
I have a Corky Gaskell baseball.
Yeah, I have to get one. I have his baseball card.
You do?
I do. He sent me
I've
a couple
had dinner
of them.
with him.
We may get out there next year. We're really considering going out there. Yeah.
Oh, what fun.
But when I started this game, I've been playing for 22 years. There was maybe 100 teams across the country. Maybe the furthest you went out was, I think there was Minnesota teams, but nothing down south and nothing out way west.
They're everywhere now.
And now you've got 300, maybe even 400 teams all the way out on the West Coast. I know there's some teams in San Francisco, Los Angeles. There's, I think there's one up in Seattle.
I think there is too.
And in Canada and in Florida and Texas. You have teams all over the country. So if you want to see a game like this, check them out. You'll get to see a little bit of history live.
Most of them are free.
Yeah, most of them are free.
And you
yes.
bring a folding chair or a blanket. You bring the kids in a picnic, and it's a great way to introduce children to the game.
Absolutely.
And it's free, so it's cheap.
Yep.
And it's a fun day out with the family. Many of these are held at local park museums
Yep.
like this one.
Yes.
So it really does expose children to a lot of wonderful elements, local history, baseball history.
You get to go back in time for a
Yep.
little while, and it's everybody. Maybe it's Corky.
Corky,
I don't know who's trying to FaceTime.
send me some of
That's
your
weird.
peanut butter cookies, please. They looked so good online 2 weeks ago.
Wow, he's got a lot of mentions, Corky. You know that little kickback we were talking about.
Oh, really? I don't see that.
No, he's giving me a little kickback later.
Oh, okay.
Corky, for mentioning his
Good.
name so much.
No, to hell with cookback. Send me cookies.
Now, there's a lot of similarities, and I remember, I think it might have been last year, in my older age now, I'm forgetting years starting, and I know you can attest. The things run together,
Why am I
but
here?
you gave a speech.
What is your name?
You gave a great speech at our opening ceremony. And it was to the captains of the team, so I'm kind of putting you on the spot here. How much you can, and you just give me the
I
gist
don't know
of it.
what I said 5 minutes ago.
It was a Doc quote. It was a quote from Doc Adams back in the day,
Yes.
talking about captains and getting their players together.
Yes.
And do you remember that at all?
Most of it.
I mean, you don't have to give me the exact quote, but I think this would be really helpful for the captains out there watching.
It was
'cause
from the
to me.
Sporting News interview. And, I didn't bring it with me. Stupid. As captain, I had to, in essence, he says, use every effort to induce attendance, and often thought it useless to persevere, except my love for the game led me to persevere.
And it was a fantastic quote. If you're out there watching, there's a good chance you're either a player or maybe even a captain out there. And we all seem to be going through the similar problems that even Doc went through back in the day of getting people to come out to the games. And if it wasn't for the love of the game, and it's usually the captain that has the most love for the game, it wouldn't persevere. And thank God, and I'd say it right now, that Doc felt that way.
Yeah.
And Doc continued on.
It's not a new problem.
And we almost got killed by a baseball.
Heads up.
Thanks for yelling, John.
Yeah. Thanks for the heads up, guys.
All I see is John ducking over there behind a fence, and we're just like sitting here in the limelight, as close to the action as
Thanks,
you can
Paul.
get. So let's get down to the meat and potatoes of all this. I'm going to ask you two questions. The first question, and we didn't rehearse any of this, so this is exclusive.
I think I'm so done. Put a fork in me.
Why isn't Doc in the Hall of Fame?
There are two reasons. Number one, nobody really knew about him.
Okay.
In 1980, a member of the Doubleday family bought a controlling interest in the New York Mets. And then, of course, the Doubleday, the Abner Doubleday myth bubbled to the surface again. Right. That is a myth, boys and girls, if you do not know it already.
Yeah, let's make sure if you're watching for the first time.
That is a myth.
Do your research. Abner Doubleday did not invent baseball.
Nothing.
There's lots of facts, and I'm not going to go into all of them now why he couldn't have, but it's a myth.
It is a myth.
Yeah, it's not just two people saying it. You can look it up.
It was debunked in the 1940s by a man named Robert Henderson, and others have debunked it further since then.
Mm-hmm.
So let's set that aside. So anyway, on the front page of the New York Times was the big announcement of this man named Doubleday. I think his first name was Nelson, buying a controlling interest in the Mets, and then the Doubleday myth. Well, my father, my late father, and one of my nephews, who at the age was 12, my nephew wrote a letter to the New York Times, and with my father, but he wrote it mainly himself. Hi, Nate, if you're watching. He's not 12 now. He's the father of 2 grown boys. Nate wrote this letter to the New York Times talking about Doc Adams. Nate's middle name is Adams. And it was published in the New York Times. It was a long letter. It took up the whole top half of the page. And they published it. That was April of 1980. No one had ever really heard the name before. And then the whole issue sort of went to sleep. Why hasn't the family done anything about it until this annoying old broad came along? Well, it's not in the family way to put yourself forward.
Yeah.
It's just not in the DNA. We're old Puritans. Old Puritans don't do
Well,
that.
as I'm sure you can attest to too, there's a certain amount of work and dedication that's involved in this, and it's not something you just jump
I'm
into and
actually
say.
only 25. I just look 110.
But the bottom line is, you could find that and you could know that, but then you have to
Yeah,
say,
and
"Am I
prove it.
willing to do this?"
Yeah, so-
and you're obviously, bless you, are
Till
willing
the
to do
last
that.
breath in my body, Tom.
Good.
And I was at a vintage ball game in '97, I think it was. My mother had been contacted by a very nice man by the name of John Hussman out in Ohio.
Oh yes, I remember John.
You know John?
Yes, he played for the
And
Swamp Frogs.
that's
the
right.
Black Swamp Frogs.
And he invited my mother and whatever extra family members could show up to this vintage ball game in Connecticut. He and his team were coming east. So mother called me one day. I went, all right. Ugh, I couldn't bear the thought. I'm not athletic. I don't run. The only place I run is to the coffee pot at 6 in the morning. So I went. I had the best time. And I met a wonderful man by the name of Fred Ivor Campbell.
Yes.
What a lovely gentleman he was. And he said to me, and I'm embarrassed now to tell this story, but I've told Alma, his widow, so she knows. He said to me, Doc Adams saved baseball. And I laughed. I really did. I didn't know any of this. And I said, oh, okay, that's very nice. And he went on to tell me how Doc would lecture his club members at the meetings to make sure people would show up for games. And I went, okay. I mean, this just sailed right over my head. I didn't know what he was talking about. Flash forward to 2011, and my sister sent me John Thorne's book, Baseball in the Garden of Eden.
Right.
If you have not read it, read it.
It's a must read.
It is one of the top 3 books on baseball history, and you must read it. Baseball in the Garden of Eden by John Thorne.
Who is?
Talk about kickback.
If you don't know who
I've
John
sold
Thorne
about-
is,
Yeah.
Major League Baseball
Yep.
historian.
Yep.
Historian for Major
Look
League
at the bunny
Baseball.
rabbit over there. Little bunny rabbit.
She's not distracted at all.
He's chasing a ball. No, yeah, there's no ADD in my family tree. Okay. So anyway, my sister sent me this book. I went, baseball? What is she sending me this book on baseball for? I don't care. In the flyleaf. Right in the flyleaf, I looked at it. Daniel Lucius Doc Adams. Holy cow. Read the book. It was fabulous. I couldn't get my nose out of it. It was so interesting. And lots in there about Doc. Most of it I didn't know. I mean, what I knew in 2011, I knew he was a doctor. And I knew he played baseball and had something to do with the shortstop position with the New York Knickerbockers. That is the sum total of my knowledge of Doc Adams in 2011. Or baseball or anything else. So any knowledge I've acquired is because of some very excellent people who've done some very fine research over the years, and I've gobbled up as much knowledge as I possibly can. So
I heard somebody say,
there was
watch
a
it.
question. There was a question in there somewhere. I forget now what it was.
Why isn't he in the hall?
Oh, why isn't he in the hall? Well, because no one's heard of him.
Yeah.
So I innocently asked somebody back in 2011, should Doc be in the Hall of Fame? I didn't know anything about the Hall of Fame either.
Right.
I mean, I knew it was in Cooperstown, but I thought it was for living players. I didn't know what it was about because I didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
I said, should Doc be in the Hall of Fame? And they said, well, of course. I said, oh, well, this is easy. Look, it's so obvious. Look what he did. Okay, let's get this done. I figured I'd all be done in a year.
Right.
Oh, God, I hope I'm alive to see him get in the hall. It's taking so long. Can anybody hear me say that?
Yeah. Well, that's what
Oh,
we're
the
here
filters
for.
are gone. That's too bad.
No, that's okay.
All the filters are gone. So, yes, I am determined to get him in the Hall of Fame, hopefully before I leave this, before I shuffle off this mortal coil. Yes, I'm
Well,
going to get
you
it
look
done.
at his qualifications now. You've mentioned, we've talked about a lot of them already, but we'll just go over them again.
Shortstop.
He invented the shortstop position. And if you're just joining us and you're just watching, this is Marjorie Adams, great-granddaughter of Doc Adams.
Very proud great-granddaughter.
One of the founding fathers of baseball, and who invented the shortstop position.
Yes. He
Keep
set
going.
the bases at 90 feet.
Set the bases
I
at
think
90
almost,
feet.
it's that in the fact that in the early days, he kept the game going. That's what was important about the Knickerbockers.
And that's really, that's probably the most underrated out of all the things that he's done.
Yeah.
Keeping the game going is extremely. Bill, welcome aboard. Bill
Hi, Bill.
Keeping the game going is huge, because obviously if you don't keep the game going, or you don't go out there and recruit players and make the bats, like you said, and make the balls, the game disappears off the planet, and the next thing you know, no more baseball.
You know, and it's interesting because, and I love American history, and those of you out there who also love American history, we all know that history doesn't turn on the big things. History turns on the little things. Anyone who's really studied history knows that.
Absolutely.
It's the little things. I have a copy of a letter written to Doc in March of 1845. He joined the Knickerbockers shortly after they were formed in September of 1845. This was 6 months earlier. A letter to Doc from his father. And the discussion is whether or not Doc should move to Springfield. He'd obviously been made a job offer in Springfield, Massachusetts. And he was, in these letters, discussing it with his father, if he should accept this job offer. And his father was saying, no, I really think you should stay in New York. And you know...
Yes, Don, there's a game going on behind us.
Don.
1865 game, Don. Where are you from, and what's your sorry to take a while to get to you. Do you play vintage baseball? Go ahead, I'm sorry,
That's
Marjorie.
good. Let Don answer.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an 1865 game going on behind us. There's 2 other games also going on within this confines of a 19th century village. It's part of the Doc Adams Baseball Festival. This is the 20th year. They can't see your shirt, Marjorie. They're too short.
Oh, I forgot. Well, here's the front of it.
This is Marjorie Adams, the great-granddaughter of Doc Adams. And she is talking about getting Doc into the Hall of Fame, which is...
It's going to happen.
It's a no-brainer.
And we have a website, www.docadamsbaseball.org.
You got that?
Thank you, Roger Ratzenberger, for doing our website and maintaining it and keeping it beautiful. And we have an online petition. So please tell your friends. And really, please help me spread the word.
I will put a link on our website for that, so you can say it. And you want to say it one more time?
www.docadamsbaseball.org.
And there you go. You could sign a petition there. You can see all the facts that we just talked about on here. See why Doc Adams should be in. I mean, it seems to me, and it seems to probably a lot of the baseball people out there, this is a no-brainer. We're not really sure. There's red tape, and maybe we could talk about some of the red tape and getting him in. But if you have somebody that's partially responsible for keeping the game going, writing down the rules of a certain game. I don't care what game you're talking about. You could be talking about basketball, and you could be talking about the peach baskets back up there. And I don't care what game it is. If you're writing down the rules and you're keeping this game going, you're important to the game. You're the most important thing to the game. So it's a no-brainer. You should be in the Hall of Fame. Billy's going to sign it for us. There you go. We got one. Bill. Way to go. Thank you.
And pass it on to the rest of your club.
Yep.
I think I met you last weekend up in Massachusetts, right, Bill?
Guys, if you're into 19th century baseball and you're watching this, and you're watching on replay or whatever however you're watching on it, and you have contact the guy that's in charge of your website and put a link to this website on there. This is why we're all playing. Okay, this is why we have the game of baseball. Okay, it's that simple. Doc Adams. Sure, there's other people responsible for it, but he's one of the guys that made the game the way it is now. And if you feel that this person belongs in the Hall of Fame, which I, with all my heart, do, and obviously Marjorie does, and a whole lot of people that I talk to, not only sign this petition, but put it out there, because this is how we're going to get this gentleman into the Hall of Fame. We need to put it in people's faces. Put it on your website. Just throw a little link on there, okay? I'll throw a link on this website. No, it's easy when it's from the heart. Yeah. It really is.
You know, I was talking with a local sports broadcaster a couple of years ago about Doc, and after I'd harangued him for about 30 minutes about Doc, he looked at me and he said, you know, you can't tell the history of baseball without Doc Adams.
You're absolutely
I said,
right.
Absolutely.
There may not be a game without it. You know,
that's right.
I'm being pessimistic side of it. I'm going to say there wouldn't be a game without it.
And that's what I was saying, just going back to that letter about Doc possibly moving to Springfield in 1845, and his father advising him, no, stay where you are.
Had that happened,
Imagine if Doc had moved to Springfield. we'd probably still be playing cricket, God help us all. Can you imagine all these guys in fancy whites with the V-necks? Oh,
nothing against you cricket players out there,
Nothing.
but you're not going to see me playing cricket.
No,
I just
no.
got to say that. It's
No,
a long game.
baseball is a much more
Yes.
manly game.
And for those people that are saying that baseball come from cricket, because I know there's a few of you out there. No, there's similarities, but they're few.
Yeah.
There really are. And
Yeah.
this is a unique game, and it's definitely. Thank you for liking the page, Lori. I appreciate it. You can have glasses on. All right, so go sign this petition. Go to this website.
Thank you.
Get and throw links up to it, because the more people we get this out to. When is the next time Doc's up to be in the hall?
The next possibility will be in 2020.
2020.
God, I hope I'm still here.
And he missed the. Do they give you any explanation? Because I'm curious from my own standpoint. Like, when was the last vote?
The last vote was in 2015. Mm-hmm. He needed 12 votes to get inducted.
Okay.
There were 9 other candidates. Doc was the top vote getter, but was 2 votes shy of the minimum. Now, that's why it was so unsettling when the laws of baseball came out 2 months later.
Too late, yeah.
2 months later. Had it been the year prior, done deal, everything but the black, it would have happened. So 2020 is my next
So
shot.
2020 is the next
And then
shot.
after that, because the Hall of Fame has changed the rules, the next vote, again, won't be until 2030.
No,
I promise
2020.
you.
This is
there's-
it.
It's unlikely
This
I'll
is
be here for 2030.
We're
So
going to make this our mantra. Who knows? I same here.
2020 or bust.
2020 or bust. That sounds good.
And I'm being just annoying enough that the Hall of Fame knows who I am.
You
that's
have
fine.
to. It's
That's
unfortunate,
fine.
but it's the way things have to be. So don't assume, a lot of us, I'll speak for my generation. You'll sit back and you'll say, this guy obviously belongs in. He's going to get in. I don't need to do anything. Please don't do that.
Yeah.
I sound like I'm on a telethon right now, but I'm telling you right now, you need to put this guy's name out everywhere. And that's part of the reason.
And he has a Facebook page.
Paul, welcome. And he has a Facebook. Thank you for sharing,
Paul.
Paul just shared our video.
Oh,
Fantastic.
thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate it. So you need to get it out there. That's why we renamed this festival as part of it. We're at, for the people that don't know, we're at Old Bethpage Village Restoration, which kind of has a little tie-in.
It's beautiful.
It's the birthplace of vintage baseball.
Yes, it
This
is.
is where the very
It is.
first vintage baseball game on the field that was right
Yep.
behind us right now in 1979. And now look at it. It's growing crazy.
Or 97.
No, it was 79. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's
I
been
thought you
played for the festival, the first festival.
Because I have a
Yes.
picture of my mother at this in
Yes,
97.
she was here in
Yep.
97.
Yep.
Yes, she was.
Yep.
As our first guest. Yeah,
Yep.
I remember that day. I was here.
I couldn't go, I was working, but I remember her telling me about it. I'm
Yeah.
going, you're doing what?
Had we
She's
got
here,
you going
she's-
then?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, we're going to wrap it up.
Thank you, Tom.
Marjorie, I really appreciate you
Oh,
being
this
on
was
here.
fun.
And you were worried about not having anything to say.
Oh, I never
We've
have
probably
nothing
been
to
on
say.
for 45 minutes, maybe an hour. Who knows?
I feel, gee, I could do this again in an hour, like a Vegas lounge act.
Okay, Wayne Newton, you're not.
Oh,
I'm
nope.
just going to say that.
Yeah. Gee, thanks.
All right.
I'm going to sleep easy tonight.
All right, I'm going to sign off. It looks
Thank
like
you,
the gate
Tom.
behind us is finished. Marjorie, I appreciate it.
No, thank you.
And send out those links, guys, and
Yes.
share, and we will do this again.
2020.
2020 is it. That's it. We got it. It's got to happen. It really does. We know it's going to happen, but let's push to get it going, okay? Sometimes the powers that be that are making the decisions up there need a little in your face.
Shove?
So that's what we need to do. All right, guys, thank you for watching This Week in
Thank
Vintage
you, guys.
Baseball.
Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend. We're having a great
And thank
one
you,
here.
Tom.
You're welcome. And thank you, everyone. Take care. Thank you for watching. We'll see
Bye.
you later. And that's it.